Coming up, the scandal that the Democrats and their supporters failed to acknowledge, trying to protect their taxpayer fraud racket. Joe Rogan had Brett Weinstein on his program, and they discussed the issues of USAID.
Podcast today. I like to mix it up. You know, I listen to all kinds of different stuff, and it was like I was listening to a different world. Like, they weren't even talking about all of this corruption and all this obvious buying of influence. Instead, they were talking about aid overseas and how people are going to starve. And I'm like,
it's mind-boggling, and there's also, I have to say, I'm upset at the general pattern of a failure to recognize how right those of us who hypothesized that there was a racket that had overtaken our entire governance structure, we turn out to be absolutely right about.
As will be seen later in the show, the simple fact is that the Democrats are trying to pretend that there is no scandal, no racket associated with USAID. This is despite spending on DEI programs overseas, pushing trans agendas, paying news organisations, foreign and domestic, for favourable media coverage for the left, among a host of other, quite frankly, criminal misuses of taxpayer funds. This is the tip of the iceberg. As Weinstein says, what was seen as conspiracy theories before have proved to be correct. The Democrats are up to their necks in this, which is why they and their minions are doing everything that they can to distract attention. USAID is just the tip of the iceberg. Just imagine what is going to come out of other much larger departments, such as Health and Human Services, Justice, the EPA, etc. To demonstrate the point, look at how MSNBC tries to paint this scandal.
It is a result of a brutal but effective disinformation campaign initiated by Elon Musk and cheered on by Donald Trump, by Republicans, by right-wing media, under the guise of cutting taxpayer spending, what they call radical left projects. Make no mistake that Donald Trump is kneecapping America's global standing around the world by gutting this organization.
So, MSNBC talks about spreading misinformation, when what they are doing is spreading both mis- and disinformation. No recognition of blatant fraudulent use of taxpayer funds. No, they're pushing the message that you will notice from left-wing organisations all over the place, media and Democrats more generally. Nothing to see here apart from cutting programs that are going to allow people to die, among other things that we will see a little further on. Talking about the issue of misinformation.
Saleha, thank you for asking me about that, because there's a lot of misinformation out there. First of all, when you say the Doge team, these are Treasury employees. It is 2 Treasury employees, one of whom I personally interviewed in his final round. There is no tinkering with the system. They are on read-only. They are looking. They can make no changes. It is an operational program to suggest improvement. So we make 1.3 billion payments a year. And this is 2 employees who are working with a group of long-standing employees.
The point is made that the people working with Doge on this are actually Treasury officials. This is Scott Bessent, Secretary of the Treasury. But no interest in truth from the left, however, regardless of the level of corruption. Rogan and Weinstein continue with the funding of George Soros, of all people.
Own government is funding this left-wing lunatic who is hiring the most insane prosecutors who are letting people out of jail who commit violent crimes.
And that's exactly how this racket worked, is that the ability to tax the American public and then effectively get us to pay for being propagandized, for being surveilled. That's the game. And
when the Democrats were in, they were paying media organisations using taxpayers' own money against them by telling lies and propagandising and gaslighting them. This is a shameful episode, all the more so given the complete lack of contrition by the Democrats. Just look at the USAID Soros radio network.
SEC Chair Brendan Carr joins us now. He's running that probe. Concerning to you, Brendan?
Yeah, of course. Look, I try to look on the bright side of things, and here I think that's the fact that we are having an unprecedented number of deportations taking place in this country. And for that, thank goodness for President Trump. Promises made, promises kept. He came in and said he's the person that can not only secure the border, but deport people that are here illegally, and he's carrying that out with unprecedented speed, thanks to Secretary Noem, Tom Homan as well. Here, this is really concerning. So what happened was you had ICE agents undercover doing operations in East San Jose, and part of the town known for violent gang activity. And you had this radio station broadcasting the live location, identifying the unmarked vehicles that they were in. And again, against the backdrop of Democrat leaders in Congress saying it's time for people to take fights to the street.
Soros is paying his Democrat paymasters back by putting ICE agents in significant additional danger by broadcasting on his radio network details of ICE operations. He doesn't care about putting people's lives in danger as long as his agenda is pushed. If you like this sort of content, please like, share and subscribe. Now, CNN continues with left projection.
No, and in fact, I think that they're looking at it as a huge success because no one's been able to stop them. And in fact, if you hear people now talking here in Washington, they're telling Democrats to let USAID go. Just let it go because it's a loser. And it's a loser in the sense that you can go through and pick out any program in USAID and you can make a case about why the United States shouldn't be using its tax dollars to spend overseas. Now, having said that, USAID is an organization that is much more than an aid organization, that goes overseas. I mean, there's a lot of connections it has with our intelligence apparatus from the United States. And it also creates an ability to have a bit of soft power.
CNN says that perhaps supporting USAID by those on the left is a losing proposition. But here they go into yet another argument the left are pushing with USAID. That of soft power and helping the State Department and others in pushing the US position. Although there is some justification to this, there is no justification in the gross abuse of public funds, putting not the US agenda, but specifically the left and the Democrats' agenda. They are corrupt, and this is blatant racketeering. Then we come to Morning Joe, pushing this for all that he is worth.
This is a fight that I don't care what polls say right now, if it's a 50-50 split. I still have confidence in the American people that they don't want children to die in Sudan. And on top of that, as far as a bang for your buck goes, if you look at not only the goodwill that the United States gets out of these programs, but the intel that we gain. Let's just be cynical about this if nobody gives a damn about the morality.
Here, Scarborough just pushes Democrat talking points. All of them. This is just disgraceful. He talks about being cynical. It is him being cynical, thinking that it is okay for the left and the Democrats to funnel taxpayer money to USAID to work against the American people and just push a highly political agenda. An agenda that is highly one-sided. And then we have the reality.
Donald Trump and Elon Musk are gunning for USAID.
I think North Carolina.
In the latest, the US president has claimed that billions of dollars have been stolen at the agency to create good stories about the Democrats. Trump named the Politico and New York Times in his Truth Social post, alleging that this could be the biggest scandal in history.
Trump and Musk put the truth of the matter, paying billions of dollars to shore up Democrat support and support for their far-left policies by funding friendly media. Funny that you don't hear of any USAID funding of Fox or the New York Post or whatever. Only to left-wing and far left-wing organisations like New York Times and Politico. This is a scandal, right? AID Gate. Then more lies from Senator Chris Van Hollen.
Turning over the keys to the Treasury and the rest of the federal government to Elon Musk. We need to end this illegal power grab, and we are going to do it now. We are not going back.
And it all began with Elon Musk's cost-cutting crusade. Tasked by President Donald Trump, Musk claimed USAID was a criminal organization. He accused it of wasting taxpayers' money, addressing them to be Viper's nest of radical left Marxists who hate America.
We get lies from Van Hollen, already put to bed by the Treasury Secretary, pointing out that Doge are working for Treasury. The Democrats are furious that their racket has come to light, so will lie about all sorts of aspects, including the issues of trying to frighten people to make out that Doge is looking at all of the Americans' private details. What they're worried about is their own power grab. It is clear that Musk's characterization of much of USAID is essentially correct. USAID is going to be significantly cut.
The Trump administration plans to keep fewer than 300 USAID staff out of over 10,000 worldwide, according to Reuters sources. The sources said only 294 agency staff would keep their jobs. The USAID website stated that as of midnight on Friday, all direct hires will be on leave except for key personnel and critical programs.
Talk about waste. Not only in terms of corruption, the blatant misuse of taxpayer funds for highly political purposes at home and abroad, but also the massive bloating of the department, where only 294 of over 10,000 employees are needed. Professor Jonathan Turley makes a very valid point about Trump's second term.
What's different about this term, as opposed to the one that you and I helped cover the first time Trump was elected, is that Trump is wasting no time. I mean, I got to tell you, the entire city is on edge. Just the pace of these changes, the flurry of executive orders has everyone reeling. And there's a reason for that. He knows that the final 2 years of a second-term presidency, everything slows down. You lose a lot of momentum. He wants, if there's going to be challenges, then he's going to invite them. He's going to go into court, and they're going to knock him down, and they're going to get on with this.
Trump knows that the Democrats are going to try everything they can to kill off his agenda. He knows that the left will engage in lawfare to try to slow Trump's agenda to a snail's pace, using tame judges in friendly jurisdictions, even though they know that the Supreme Court will eventually overturn most of them. So Trump is moving very quickly, very early, to ensure that he gets his agenda through in good time. And Mark Halperin makes a point that I have made for a long time.
You cannot execute the mandate that President Trump has and many Americans want to change government, to reduce the headcount, to get rid of wasteful spending, to reduce the debt and deficit. You cannot do that without being an outsider who is fearless about taking on the status quo in the deep state and the entrenched bureaucracy. Not going to happen otherwise. And Musk has already done more than Reagan did or Bush did. I mean, he's already made history in trying to root this out. And he's doing it in part because he's aggressive and fearless and has the support of the president and the vice president, and he's super smart about systems.
Halperin makes the point that it takes an outsider to do this. He is looking at Musk as the outsider, but the reality is that in a lot of ways, Trump is the outsider as well. This would never have happened under an inside the Beltway president, just as it doesn't happen with inside the Beltway leaders in other countries. For example, to see how an outside the Beltway person who becomes president acts, have a look at Javier Milei in Argentina and how he's turning things on their head. This is really needed. It really needed to happen to prevent the spread of the woke and making the nation broke. But what do you think of USAID revelations? Please let me know in the comments below. And thanks for watching.